YouTube? Siegfried Lane here with, believe it or not, a Final Fantasy XIV video. I wanted to make this video because we have all of the current WoW sprouts coming in, as well as other players coming in. So, just a quick shout out to some of the new players I have been watching. Just wanted to give you guys a kind of a welcome from me to you. We have, let me find you guys again real quick. So I gotta go through my who I'm subscribed to, you know, my subscriptions. Let's see, where we at? Let's see. First we have Vincus. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, man. Vynsas. Beyond Gaming, Valkovich, Medieval Marty, Al Nino 9, Kobrak, and Sprout Jake. I am subscribed to you guys, and I wanted to officially welcome you guys to the Final Fantasy XIV community, to this family of ours. And you know, if you ever need any help, if I'm currently on Midgard Summer, you know, you can feel free to invite me. I'll, you know, display my name real quick. There's my name if you want to find me. I belong to a pretty friendly, you know, free company. It's pretty big. If you're looking for a free company, you know, they're pretty open to inviting people. And just, I want to, you know, just put a hand out, welcome all of you guys. And I really hope you enjoy you enjoy the game. I hope it's worth your time and your money. And, you know, I've been watching a lot of you guys saying how excited you guys are about, you know, just the current area in the story. And just want to say, it's been said a million times, but you've got so much more to experience. Special shout out to Alineo 9. Man, I've been watching your videos. I can't believe how fast that you have been flying through Heavensward. Just kudos to you, man. I do suggest go back and go through Coil of Bahamut. It's a very big part of the Realm Reborn story, and it connects to Heavensward. And then on top of that, don't forget Heavensward, because that is going to connect very strongly into Shadowbringers. So just something for you, man. But I want to do a quick video just on what what new sprouts can expect coming in, as well as some more realistic comparisons in kind of breaking certain negative stigmas about the game. So let's start at the beginning. A Realm Reborn. Now, a lot of people have been talking about, yeah, you know, it does get pretty slow, and you know, it gets pretty boring. But one thing I've noticed by a lot of the people who are actually from WoW vets is they all say the same thing. It gets slow, it gets boring, but the payoff is worth it, so they don't mind it. And I think a lot of these things that the WoW vets have forgotten is when they very first played World of Warcraft, level grinding from level 1. I mean, a lot of you guys are, you know, 10, 15 years in WoW. That's a long time to go back and try and remember that. So this isn't an insult to anybody. I'm being realistic here. I remember trying to level from level 1 in WoW, and it was horrible. It was just so bad. Leveling up in WoW is just so painful. And leveling up in Final Fantasy XIV, honestly, is less painful just because I don't worry about leveling up. I worry about the story. So if you're coming into Final Fantasy XIV, you gotta do the story. If you're not gonna do the story, I mean, get a story skill. That's my suggestion. If you're not going to do the story, get a story skill. And if it's not worth a story skip, don't play the game. Because 50% of Final Fantasy XIV is the story. That's an easy 50% of the game. Personally, if you're not going to like 50% of the game, I don't suggest playing this game. I think even Chris from Work to Gain, his name's Chris, I hope I'm not messing up. Man, if I'm messing that up, I'm sorry. But I think even he realized in Shadowbringers kind of how much he missed out for not actually paying attention to the original story. And as a WoW player, it's, you know, it's again, I think a bad habit of his to skip the story. And so when it came to Shadowbringers, there was a lot that he didn't have as big of an impact as it should have had on him, and I think he realized that. And I do hope coming, you know, from this point on, he does play, you know, actually gives the story a lot more attention than he has in the past. Does he have to? No, I'm not I'm not saying, guys, that you have to do that, but I am saying that it's going to make the game a lot less painful. And if you're really not a story person, I really suggest not playing the game because it's going to be a waste of your time. Is it an amazing story? Yes. Might the story actually grasp you? There have been a couple of people who are not story people and were just grasped by this story. So, very possible. I mean, I know Asmongold is planning to try it. I don't know when he's planning to try it. I don't know if he has. Maybe the story will grasp him, maybe it won't. Personally, I really don't care if Asmongold plays the game because, you know, I mean, I just don't care. I mean, part of me wants him to play just because if he plays it, he'll finally be able to come back and say, okay, this isn't a weeb game. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about the weeb game real quick because another one for if you're looking at Final Fantasy XIV and the whole weeb title is a concern, guys, the game is not a weeb game. What is a weeb? A weeb is a person, a non-Japanese person, who is obsessed with Japanese culture and wishes they were part of it. A weeb game usually refers to a game that is anime. And Dark Souls is not a weeb game. Bloodborne is not a weeb game. Code Vein? Yeah, that's a weeb game. Persona? Not a weeb game. Any of the past Final Fantasies? Not weeb games. Let's see, let me try to think of the weeb game. The A-Taylor series, pretty weebish. You know, there are a lot of weeb games out there. I personally am not a fan of these anime/weeb games. They're not my cup of tea. I don't find them interesting. I don't care about them. They're just not my thing. And so how that happened. I wonder why there's no music. And so, Final Fantasy XIV is honestly not a weeb game. It follows and if you've ever played a Final Fantasy, you would know that the lore is a lot more Western than Eastern. Bahamut is not a Western character. Leviathan is from the Bible. Odin is Norse. Midgardsormr is Norse mythology. Titan is Greek mythology. Shiva is Indian mythology, I believe. Ifrit is, I believe, Indian mythology. Bismarck is Norse mythology, I believe. Ravana was, I believe, Indian mythology. Okay, they made up Maw. I can't say anything about King Maw. They made that one up. But if you actually look at the mythology, as well as the style of battle they use, guys, this is not Eastern style at all. Stormblood is most Eastern it is. But when you actually know more about Japanese culture and whatnot, it's not a weeb game. I live in Japan, man. Japanese culture, people who are weebs have no freaking idea what Japanese culture is. They have no idea what they wish they were a part of. It's a pain in the ass, man. I love Japan. I love living here. I've been here for 7 years. But dude, I leave my house at 7:55 in the morning and I get home usually around 8 o'clock at night. It's a 12-hour day. And you know, that's because I'm expected to go to work early and leave when I can leave. And sometimes it's a 14-hour day. That's insanity. And regardless of what the problem is, you have to take responsibility, even if it's really not your fault. You take responsibility in this country. Japanese culture is honestly extremely difficult for Americans to understand. And I'll probably get into that in a different video, kind of a blog video. I might start doing some vlogs. Wouldn't hurt, actually. So, this is not a weeb game. Do they have the cat people? Yeah. My solution? Don't play a cat person. Do they have Lollafills? Yeah. My solution? Don't play a Lollafill. I've never been a Lollafill, and I'll never be a Mikote. It just isn't going to happen. I've been a human, I've been an Elzen, and I've been the dragon race. I forgot the dragon race. That are the only three I've ever been interested in being. But I, personally, like being a human. I like to personify myself in the game, and I personify myself as a human. Not as a cat person. I mean, dragons I was a fan of, but even then I'm not a big one. I'm not doing the dragons anymore. I just don't, that's not me. So if you don't like something because you think it's animation, then ignore it. When it comes to Ishtola, who you see in the trailer, the cat girl in the trailer in the black like robes, dude, you might think she's weeb now, man, but when you play the game, you're gonna freaking love her. She's probably one of the top 5 favorite characters for all Final Fantasy players. She is such a badass that every single person who's like looks at her and laughs about, oh, it's a cat girl, man, you are gonna eat those words when you see just how badass she is. She is absolutely amazing as you get further into the story. Back to the story though. Once you hit level 40, the pace will pick up. Once you get to Castro Meridium and Praetorium, the pace is going to be going really fast. You're pretty much not going to be bored anymore. That's when the boredom really ends. Stormblood has some boring parts to it, to be honest, but not like a Realm Reborn, and you're going to be interested pretty much the whole time through it. So, like, honestly, guys, it's really not as bad as people make it out to be. It's about 5 to 6 hour prologue if you really just sit there and burn through it. 5 to 6 hours, 10 max. Which, if you play Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XIII's prologue was like 12 hours long. So, I mean, like, it's not as bad as that. Something else, let's talk about the community. The community, this is also very important. It's like, pretty much, I think that's much as I got the story, the community. The community is very friendly at first, okay? And this is one thing I want to warn. This is my warning to all content creators. So, Sprout J, Aliona9, all of y'all. Okay, this goes out to all of you guys, Kobrak. Please listen to this, and I hope you guys watch this. If you watch this, any of you guys, please leave a comment, because this is extremely important to understand. Final Fantasy has a small but loud, really toxic fan base. These fanboys are absolute garbage. They are the worst part of this game. They're the ones who treat this game like it's the best game in the world. And I love Final Fantasy XIV, but it ain't the best game in the world. I mean, let's be honest. Is it gonna topple WoW? I think by the end of Endwalker, yeah. Unless 9.1 is amazing in WoW, yeah. Is it the top right now? No. But these fanboys can't admit that. And the point I want to make right now is, when you make a negative comment about this game, regardless of how fair you are, they are going to attack you. And my advice is, when they attack you, and they're going to be bad, like, I'm talking, you might get some people to do with death threats. They're just that freaking stupid. Remember that 97% of this community is going to be behind you and back you up, and is going to tell you, you know what, I agree with you, you know what, I don't agree with you, but you have a right to your opinion. 97% of the community is going to support you in your opinions. But that 3% is going to be really loud. You need to ignore them, don't give them any of your time, and only focus on the 97% that's got your back. Because, you know, I really don't want to lose a lot of you guys content creators, man. Like, we lost one, and I really miss him. And Scott Games, I really liked watching his comment, watching how he enjoyed it, man. That guy was great, and I miss him as a content creator for 14, and it was all because some stupid ass fanboys got a tantrum because he had an issue with the raids, which is totally fine. I mean, you're not, you know, if you don't have to like this whole game. So that's the first thing to be careful of. The second thing is, you are going to find toxicity in this game when you expect people to at least play properly. I'm not saying play at your level, I mean play properly, such as wear proper gear, or, you know, use correct attacks. I can't tell you how many stories I've had of people who are just stupid and then get mad when you try and correct them. In a polite way, too. I had a tank who was wearing transmog gear. I had a black mage who only used Fire 1 on mobs. And when I tried to explain to him he needed to use Fire 2, he tried to tell me how that spell was weaker and for some reason didn't understand multiplication. I've been called, you know, I've had to deal with being called an elitist just because I've done in-game content. And, you know, like, I've had people harass me because of a macro. I've had, you're gonna get some toxicity in this game, and when it hits, just remember, it's part of MMOs, man. But I don't want people to come in this game thinking the community is perfect, they're never gonna hit toxicity. You are, and I think one of the biggest disservice Final Fantasy fans do is talk about how great the community is, because they completely ignore the toxicity. And this community does have a strong toxicity, just not in the way that WoW players are probably going to be used to. Mostly because that way he's going to get you banned. So if you're a toxic WoW player, be careful, you could get banned for that behavior. Battle. This is a big one, battle. One of the biggest and most annoying complaints I hear about Final Fantasy XIV is, oh, the battle system is so slow. Oh, the 2.5 second GCD. Oh, it's so horrible, blah, blah, blah. Okay, man, like, first of all, shut up. The GCD is not that bad. If you just take the GCD of 14, the GCD of WoW, and completely ignore all the other combat mechanics that both games have, yeah, it seems bad. But that's because you're ignoring how WoW works, really how WoW works, and how Final Fantasy XIV works. So Final Fantasy XIV has a longer GCD, but has off general cooldown moves, and a lot of them. And there is no other system. It's simply your general cooldown and your off general cooldown moves. And you'll learn your rotation of how to weave, there's a lot of weaving in 14, your moves in so that you have constant combat flow. 14 has a smooth combat flow. It has a pace and a beat. That's what makes 14's combat, in my opinion, way better than WoW's. Now, that also gives it a disadvantage because at the beginning, the beat is this. It's like when you're playing piano and you're playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It's not going to be a fun song. When you're doing twinkle, you're going to do like do do do. It's not fun. But when you go to play Moonlight Sonata, it's a completely different ballgame. And that is how Final Fantasy XIV works. When you're playing in the very beginning, it's like playing your ABCs or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But when you get to level 80 and you're at the end game, it's like the freaking Moonlight Sonata. You are constantly doing something. And this is where WoW, in my own experience, again, I played WoW, I still have a WoW account, I have a character in WoW, I have multiple characters in WoW, and I love Death Knight. I love the story behind the Death Knight, and Unholy Death Knight was just, I really love the Unholy Death Knight, even though it wasn't the strongest. Never cared for Frost, to be honest. But the big issue with WoW is, while the GCD isn't bad, it is really fast, there are so many different systems in the combat that does slow the combat down. I will use examples of Unholy DK since that is what I play, or DK in general. You have to worry about orb regeneration and the RNG of getting an orb back, as well as rune power. There are two different mechanics you have to worry about that slow down the combat. Unholy Death Knight, I have to worry about that, and it slows down my combat, and the game does not feel smooth. The game does not have a beat to it. It doesn't have a tempo. It's just, oh, it's up, boom, boom. Okay, wait. Rune's back, boom, boom. And unless I get, I'm getting a lot of good RNG and getting them to respawn immediately, I will spend a second or two just standing there doing nothing. I've never felt like that in WoW, 14. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't really feel like that in WoW back around Warlords of Draenor and Mist of Pandaria. When I look back at Mist of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor, I did like Warlords of Draenor, to be honest, but that's because I like Unholy DK was great in Warlords of Draenor. And Unholy DK back, they were great, and then when I had to go on hiatus because my raid team disbanded, and I came back in the end of Legion and Battle for Azeroth, I couldn't believe what they did to my Death Knight. And this is where I want to get to part 2 of combat. 14 streamlines its combat. It doesn't reduce the combat. They will remove, instead of just removing a move, they'll merge it. Dark Knight, they got rid of Dark Side, but instead of getting rid of it, they merged it with another ability. Dark Knight is so much fun this expansion, and no class after the major changes in coming Shadowbringers felt stripped. No class felt stripped. World of Warcraft, they stripped the classes. And so if you're still talking about combat in World of Warcraft, man, you are in denial of what the combat is, because I watch the videos of all the World of Warcraft content creators. I watch how they complain about the one button, rotation that requires no thinking at all. That's absolutely boring. I see that. And if you're a World of Warcraft player and you still think that that system is honestly better than 14's, which actually requires a lot of muscle memory and thinking and planning, you are in denial. And you're still using, and if you're still talking about how the combat is trash, it means you have not actually dedicated the time to get a character to end game content, or at least level 60, to give it a fair judgment. So that's the reality of it. Because there's no way once you level 60, if you're being completely unbiased, you will find 14's combat worse than WoW's. You just won't. And so, coming into combat, guys, don't be scared of the 2.5 GCD. It's gonna go down. And another thing about 14 is it's not about being as fast as possible. It's about finding that sweet spot. And there's plenty of guides to help you find the sweet spot when it comes to GCD. Dragoon does not want a super high GCD or a low GCD. Dragoon does not want to be about 2-second GCD. That's really not going to work good for a Dragoon. Same with most of your tanks. You need to have a GCD that fits your class. And that's one area where 14 plays different from WoW, is that you're not just going to stack that. So that's, I'm talking about community, combat, Reborn. Guys, that's about it. I mean, I really hope that this video prepares people, at least some of the, the three big myths, I guess, around Final Fantasy XIV, or the three big things. Yeah, combat, Reborn. Yeah, the three big myths, I guess. This is against the three myths of Final Fantasy XIV. Reborn being complete garbage, which isn't true. Combat being complete garbage, which isn't true. And the community being the most amazing thing ever, which again, isn't true. I hope this gives your guy, brings most most non-Final Fantasy players, expectations to a realistic point. And, if you're enjoying the game, great, I'm so happy for you. If you don't enjoy the game, man, just drop it. Don't waste your time, play something else. There's no reason to dredge something you don't like just to get to a part that you might like. With that said, this is Secret True Lane signing out, and I will see you guys in the next video, which I have no idea what it's going to be, but we'll find out later.